Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Answered Yes podcast. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the comments and all the wonderful guests that the publicists are sending my way. I had somebody send me 3 emails on one guest. He says, I'm not sure you're getting these. If you're a publicist, I get them all. I take the time to review them all and make sure that the guest is a good fit. I get about 10 requests a day. So please be patient with me. I want to take the time to look through every single one of them. And we're a little stacked right now. So, but don't stop sending them because we've seen the rewards for all those wonderful people that have come my way. If you haven't seen in some of my social media posts, I am on a speaking tour this year, and my topics are leadership and discipline. So if you're looking to fill some space with a speaker, reach out to me. You can direct message or, well, there's a variety of ways to get a hold of us nowadays. So please reach out. Love to hear from you. Last week, I had Daryl Stickle on the line, and he talked about trust in leadership and all the things that go along with that. If you haven't heard that show, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it. It's so important how we approach not only business, but our home life. And as you know, I've been bringing guests on the show that are bringing extra value beyond their own stories, but value in the tools that they talk about, that they offer, that they've brought to the market. And today is exactly that. I've got Dr. Eric Holsapple on the line. Please, and thank you for being here, and I'm pleased to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on, Jim.
Yeah, I like the sign behind you there. It says "Living in the Gap," and gosh, we can really dissect that quite a bit. You want to explain real quick?
Yeah, just the gap is that space. We have some 6,000 thoughts a day. Scientists tell us, and it's a little gap, and when one thought stops before another thought starts, like when you see a sunset or a beautiful view and you're going, and the mind slows down just a little bit, that's a gap.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work on ways to create that and a little separation between our thoughts and who's reading the thoughts, who's listening to the thoughts. So
I love it. I appreciate it.
Reminder.
Well, this is audio only, but you've got a beautiful, like, sparkling light coming through the gap there. So I want to talk about your book and some of the things that are important to you these days, but we got to hear about how you got to that point. So maybe you can give us a little rundown on your history and your background and some of the things that you've had success in.
Yeah, I was raised in rural Maine and moved out to Colorado, went to Colorado State University, got an MBA, always worked, even as a little kid. And that was the work ethic that my family had. And I went to work back in the 80s. I'm old, Jim. It was back in the 80s. I went to work after that and got in real estate. And within a few years, I was CEO of an Australian subsidiary of an Australian-based company running their U.S. real estate. Worked up to manager, vice president, then manager, and then CEO running their North American. They came in the 80s like the Japanese did, and just really bought up a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And was really successful at a young age, but I was overweight. I mean, really overweight. I was drinking too much. I was smoking. I was single. I wasn't, just traveling like crazy. And I just had an epiphany moment when I was just 30 or just a little bit over 30 that said, you got to make some changes. You're not going to be around very long. You might be financially successful and you might have a great business card, but there's got to be more to this. So I ended up leaving that job and starting my own company, lost a bunch of weight, started running, and decided to go back and get a doctorate. And at the same time, took up yoga. And I'm not sure why. It was my first entry into mindfulness, but it made a huge difference for me. Then a couple of years later, my oldest brother, who was my dad was a football coach and he was a poet. They were a little bit estranged growing up because my dad said, "You will play." My brother said, "I want to write." Anyway, and he did play, but they were estranged. They talk through you, like, what's Bruce saying? What's Dad saying? And I just watched my brother come closer and closer to my dad. With my dad didn't really change. And then my brother opened up, my dad opened up, and I got my family back. My brother said, "You want to try it?" And I said, "Yeah." So I tried meditation. I took to it right away. liked it. And for years, I was a closet meditator. Just, did it on my own. You can be completely private with it as long as you want. And then one by one at my company, people started noticing a little difference for me and coming to me and asking me about things. And what would you do here? What would you do there? And I'd just be saying, oh, try this, do this, And we started a seed group, monthly meeting where we'd sit around in the center a little bit, talk about a book, maybe learn meditation. Before I knew it, the room was full. And the management team got together and adopted the vision statement, mindfully creating community. And it's just been a game changer. Everybody's on nonprofit boards, and not everybody in the company's meditating all that. Different people are in it for pennies, some for a pound, but it's a mindful mindset, and it's a great place to work, and it's made a huge difference for the people in their jobs, and they've brought it home.
Well, you should know that this show is mindfulness friendly here.
Let's do it.
Us on in this last year. It's amazing, as I talked about, bringing more people with tools, right, that offer something for our guests to learn more about. Yeah. Mindfulness has been one of them. We had Naz Bashida on the line a couple months ago. Name might not mean a lot, but she wrote a book. She was Steve Jobs' executive secretary for years and years and years, and she adopted that mentality exactly in the way that you talked about, right? I wasn't doing it. I was kind of a closet meditator. Then all of a sudden brought the power of that to the workforce, and it really made a difference for her, as it has with you. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think it's important for people to start hearing that message more often.
I do too. That's what I'm about. That's the message I'm out trying to deliver.
Well, the first topic over on your bio here I'm looking at is mindfulness to help companies navigate remote work. And there's been a lot of value I've seen in remote work, and our environment has changed quite a bit over the last 4 years and where we show up to work. We've seen more offices closing down, but it doesn't mean that the important things aren't important anymore. And I think navigating what that looks like, please expand on that a little bit, because I think it's so important for people to understand.
Well, mindfulness, if you infuse your culture with mindfulness, it becomes a very sticky culture. I mean, you can't find it just anywhere. I mean, it's a lot easier to be mindful if you have a community of mindful people. And if you have a community of mindful people where you work, we just have very little turnover. I mean, people know that it's not that easy to find a company that's mindful, and it's a little bit difficult to turn one into one. So I think that I call it a sticky relationship. And it also helps be connected. It helps the manager know when he's connected. He's got to reach out and connect, not just when it's remote work. You got to reach out and connect. We resist remote work largely because it's command and control in a work environment. I can walk down the hall and keep an eye on somebody, or have somebody keep an eye on somebody, do those things. And there's a lot more trust involved. You talked about your last speaker in remote work situation.
Yeah.
And makes you more aware. And not all employees are going to, be stars in remote work. Some are going to be better at it than others. And that may be, you have to shift around a little bit with that. But once you do it, and if you can establish it, I think the employers know better about how to keep in flow, I call it, in touch with people in remote work, and then find some ways to stay in touch. Either it's weekly or monthly office meetings, maybe some training together, those kind of things, mindfulness training or other trainings, those kind of things to keep people together and keep them on the same page. It takes some effort, but mindfulness can really help because it's virtual and it's sticky.
Yeah. Good point. Another topic I was looking at of much interest, and that is how businesses can lead us out of divisiveness. My listeners know that I've got a long history working for In-N-Out Burger. My brother was the trustee of the company for 30 years. And when I think about a company like that, the things that they stand for, quality, taking care of their employees, friendliness, consistency, all the way dating back to 1948. This company's got great values, and they're so aligned, and they're bringing so much to their communities. But what I like about them is they stay in their lane. We're going to focus on what we do. We're going to be good people. We're going to bring value to the community, and they stay in their lane. And from what I see, they are not one of those divisive nature companies. But I'd like to hear your perspective on that, because I think there's a point there that's worth listening to.
Yeah. business has way more power than it gives itself credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, business moves the world, provides all the wealth in one way or another. I mean, people that have wealth have got it indirectly or directly through business. And wherever you are in the spectrum, left or right, the division in politics is bad for business.
Yeah. Yep.
It makes it unpredictable. We need to know, I mean, 5% here or there, either way on tax rates or whatnot, it's not going to kill us. We need to know where the goalposts are and, where the sidelines are and where the lines are and where the referees are and those kind of things. And most of us that are good at business will figure out how to make a buck if we know where it is. So I really think part of my message in my book is for the business people to pull together and tell for the politicians, not left or right, because I think it's crazy to limit your business.
Sure.
That I'm only going to sell or only going to hire, this political, that political. I just think that's bad business and a slippery slope. I want to, expand that. Like in South Africa, Jim, they were on the precipice of civil war with apartheid. And the business community are the ones that came together and said, hey, enough, figure this out. We need to be able to run our businesses and make some money. It's what we do. It's in our nature.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to do that. The other thing I'd say to you is we talk about America being the great melting pot. Business is the alchemy. Business is where we all get together, all religions, all races, all political parties, and we are mandated and we get together with a common cause and we get along, we figure it out and we go. It's just a great place to promote mindfulness and to get along. We have our motto here is we have people all over the political spectrum here. And we say, what do we agree on? Why don't we focus on that? We know we could get in a fist fight if we wanted to. let's focus on what we agree on and see if we can move the ball down the field a little bit.
Yeah.
I just think business really has a big role.
I agree with you. It's interesting because every company I've ever worked for since the 80s, we're probably closer in age than you think. It had a very great mix of different personalities, characters, backgrounds, etc. And it was always, the focus was the goal, like you said, the goal line, where's that at, right? For the business. And we didn't get wrapped up with the stuff that was flying by on a moment's notice in the news cycle. And I think when companies started gravitating towards appealing to the news cycle, things started getting messy. So I'd like to see businesses start focusing back on their teams, their people, and creating incredible environments using some mindfulness, to your point. So switching topics a little bit, I do a fair amount of coaching, and oftentimes I find people that don't know what their purpose is in life. And I walk them through a values exercise to help them define what that purpose is. But I'd love to hear your perspective, because it's amazing. And I find it even more so post-pandemic. People are lacking that purpose and trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I some of it's endemic in our society. We have a society that tells us, we have to do certain things, go to the right schools, do the right job, get the right house, do the family, do all these things. And then someday we get to be happy. And we've really got it. I mean, my experience with myself and my friends that have been successful is once we get there, we move our own goalposts.
Yeah.
We say, oh, I got that. Now I need the condo. I need the second country club. I got to have, the ski thing. I got, the trip to wherever. So I think the purpose in life is to be happy. And also, I think that's synonymous with presence, getting to be conscious and understand I'm a human being in a body. And that's what happiness is, in those gaps that we talk about from living in the gap. And then we say, okay, that's my inner purpose. My outer purpose is my doings. Where can I be the most happy? That's right livelihood. What can I do to be the most happy and express myself and be present when I show up? I can't be that to something that I'm not aligned with. That I feel like is not in my in my soul or whatever you want to call it. I have to feel good about what I'm doing. So that's part of it too. But when I show up with presence, show up happy, I show up in a really persuasive and energetic way. And I can get a lot done if I can be present in that and not constantly distracted or wondering why I'm there. I think when people struggle with motivation, they need to look at their purpose.
Yeah.
Am I really aligned to my purpose? Because I think we're putting a body with a breath to take action. If we're not able to take action, let's look at what's blocking it. A lot
Yeah.
of times it's purpose.
That's why I talk about values a lot. Actually, my mind's just wandering here. My own values, a couple of them in order, God first, but my family second. And is really random. I have two beautiful cars sitting in the driveway. And they're brand new. They're a pain in the rear. There's always these little electrical issues, right? And I'm thinking, what does these two beautiful cars have to do with my kids? Zero. They have zero to do with my family and their happiness. What do I care if they're new or old, as long as I can get them to school in the morning? And it's easy to start making decisions when you put your value and your purpose behind it. Well, if they don't fit the lifestyle, then get something that does work, right? You don't have to aspire to have that beautiful brand new car in the driveway, which apparently at some point I fell victim to that, and I've got two now, right?
I have two, so I can't.
I'm not saying we shouldn't reward ourselves, but at the same time, like when I really look at my values, like this car is causing me more headache than it is value for my family. Maybe I should look at something less expensive that actually works every day. So, mindfulness is just so important. Talk to me about your book, right? It's glaring here in your bio, and I want to learn more about your book and the title of it. Please say what it is, and give us some background on it.
Yeah, the book is entitled "Profit with Presence: The 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership," and it lays out a path, not the path, but a path in which that you can find, mindfulness and presence, purpose, vision, commitment, intention, form habits, and really work on your way of being, in the world, how you can be happy and take that happiness to what you do and walk into life with the right mindset, and how you prioritize your life so that you can, your family or your God is first, what that is to you. So it's a life system, and it really is a system that says, you can have it all. You don't have to sacrifice your family for your job, because most of us are going to work for our families. It isn't, they have to work together. We get this thing that, I go to work and then later on I'll take care of the family, and later on I'll be mindful, and later on I'll do this. I say, well, I don't think that's the smartest way to go. I think it's being mindful is a great opportunity at work. It's mostly focus. And if I focus at work, I get more done in less time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They talk about a successful 4-hour workday, and most people think about that, in layman's terms. The reality is, if you're extremely focused and you know what the task is, you can get more done in those 4 hours that most people get in 8.
Some people say, oh, that mindfulness, that's woo-woo. That's all kumbaya, holding hands. And I go, no, what's woo-woo is the state of the world. I'm so distracted by my smartphone talking at me. The news cycle is crazy. No one can focus on anything. I said, that's woo-woo. Mm-hmm. Mindfulness is the ability to focus on what I choose to focus on, and know when I go away, and can bring myself back. To me, it's simple, and there's nothing contrary in mindfulness to business. It can just be such a great help.
I'm always looking for that word. You just gave it to me, woo-woo. I want to affirm what you said about, just our distractions. I remember back in 2016 with the news cycle and the election cycle, I was listening to a lot of news radio on my trip back and forth to work or to the beach or whatever it was. And I became so stressed out because of what was on the radio. And I remember making a conscious effort to turn it off and to stop listening to the news cycle. Now, I dip in once in a while to this day, but nothing like I was in 2016. Yeah. And it made a significant difference in how I approached my day, my how I felt, how I treated others. And to your point, it was just being very mindful of what I was consuming and when I was consuming it. And I think it's important for people to do that.
My wife has actually deleted all the apps from her phone, and what she gets delivered is just happy, nice notes to her, things. And that I can't do what she does. It doesn't work for me, but she does. She says, I just want positive things. Yeah. Because it just keeps bringing me down a rabbit hole, makes me feel bad. So we need to, and somebody said, we need to be informed. We don't need to be inundated. So yeah, I try to read it as much as I can rather than listen anymore, because, with that 16 and then the pandemic, I got in it too. Just too much negative.
Yeah. Well, and it's taking us down, and it's keeping us from being the best person are the best people that we can be, healthy, fit, strong minds, utilizing some of the tools you talk about, the meditation and getting in the zone, better prepares you for what the day has in store.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Well, where can they find the book or find out more about you?
Best place to find out about me and Living in the Gap is livinginthegap.org, livinginthe.gap spelled out.org. And there is a link for the book there. And it's also available for pre-sale on Amazon. It's going to be launched March 7th, be delivered March 7th or sent out. So love it. Please reach out to us at Living in the Gap or purchase your copy of Profit with Presence.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the information you shared today. If you're listening to the show, don't take this as woo-woo. Take it as something that is a serious tool to help improve who you are, what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, whether that's at home or in business. People like Dr. Eric have taken the time. I always say I've paid the dummy tax, so you don't have to. But, when we take the time to put these tools out there, if you get one thing out of his book, even if it's one sentence, it was worth the cost of admission. So don't take these things lightly. Mindset, meditation, all those things are not woo-woo. They're definitely great tools for your life. So, Doctor, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I really
enjoyed it. Thank you
for
listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great week.